Okay, all right. So the first video over here, we are going to discuss about the urinary system of human. So our LO here is to describe the structure of kidneys of human. Okay, all right. So this is the structure of the urinary system of vertebrates. Okay, so you can see that the urinary system is consisting of a pair of kidneys, where you can see the right kidney over here is a little bit lower side compared to the left kidney. So why the right kidney is a little bit lower side compared to the left kidney? So please search for the answer. All right. And then the kidney is connected to the ureter. Okay. And then to the urinary bladder. Right. And urethra. Okay. Right. Next, the structure of kidney as detailed. So the outer portion of the kidney is cortex and the inner region of the kidney is medulla. So this is the renal cortex. So this area until this area, okay, whereby starting from the renal pyramid over here is the region of medulla. All right. So kidney are supplied with blood by renal artery and drained by renal vein. So the blood coming from here into the renal artery, which will be filtered by the glomerulus in the kidney, right? Or in glomerulus of the nephron in the kidney, and then, okay, drained out by renal vein. Okay, so within the cortex and the medulla lies excretory tubule, which we call as the renal tubule. So what are the tubules? They are includes the proximal tubule, the distal tubule, all right? So collect the loop of Henle. So those are renal tubules that associated with the blood vessels. Okay, right. So next. Okay, those excretory tubules, the proximal tubule, the distal tubules, and the other ducts like collecting ducts carries and process filtrate. So filtrate refers to bahan-bahan tertapis, which able to be filtered by the glomerulus of kidney. Okay, excretory tubule carry and process the filtrate that is produced from the blood that entering the kidney. So fluid in the filtrate is reabsorbed into the surrounding blood vessel and exit the kidney in the renal vein. So all the filtrate will travel along the renal tubules and some of the component later on will be reabsorbed, diserap semula into the surrounding blood vessels. Okay, the remaining fluid, right, that is not reabsorbed, right, or not secreted later on will exit the will exit the kidney as urine. Okay, where it is collected in renal pelvis, exit via ureter, and then drain into the urinary bladder. Okay, which one is renal pelvis? So renal pelvis is here. Right, so this is the area of renal pelvis. Okay, all right, next. So these are the flow of urine. So urine flows from the renal tubules, as we discussed earlier, right? And drain out from renal pelvis. So this is renal pelvis. And from there, it goes out to the ureter, all right? So this is ureter, all right? Then into the urinary bladder, and then to the urethra. Okay, so during urination, urine flows through the urethra. Okay, right. So what are the function of kidneys? So the function of kidney are to excrete waste product like urea, okay, and then to balance the acid base, the hydrogen ion and bicarbonate ion, to maintain blood pressure. So somehow kidney is very important in maintaining our blood pressure and also maintaining the body fluids. Okay, and the third function of kidney is to secrete hormone that called as erythropoietin, where it helps to generate more oxygen, especially if oxygen level is full. Right, so these are basic function of kidney, which we are going to see the detail later in the next subtopic. All right. Okay, next we go to the structure and function of nephron. So what is nephron? So nephron is the functional unit of the kidney It founds or lies within the cortex and also renal medulla, renal cortex or renal medulla. So what are the components of nephrons? So the component of nephrons are the glomerulus, right, or the ball of capillary, renal tubules, including the Bowman's capsule, proximal tubule, loop of Henle, and distal tubule. So if we can draw, right, simple picture, like this. All right, so you have here the glomerulus. All right, so here is the proximal tubule. Right, so here is the loop of Henle. All right, and here is the distal tubule and including collecting duct. Right, so collecting duct receive filtrate from many nephrons because somehow the collecting duct can actually connect more than one nephrons together. So that's why collecting duct act as receiver or filtrate from many nephrons. Okay, right. Oh yeah, this is the Bowman's capsule. Okay, Bowman's capsule. All right. Okay, so you can see here, okay, each nephron is supplied with blood by afferent arteriole that branch and form capillaries of glomerulus. Okay, you can see again, let's look at the structure. So remember, renal artery will branch off into smaller branches that we call as arteriole. So for kidney, we call it as afferent arteriole. So afferent arteriole is sub-branches of renal artery, which bring the blood into the kidney or into the glomerulus to be filtered. Okay, so this is afferent arteriole, right? So the afferent arteriole then will be branched off into ball of capillaries that we call as glomerulus. Okay, so here you have the proximal tubule, right? Next, following the proximal tubule, then you have loop of Henle here. Loop of Henle divided into two, descending, the one that going downwards, and also ascending, that going upward, that looping upward, right? Next, we have here the distal tubule. All right, so from here, it goes here, distal tubule, and lastly is the collecting duct. Okay, so you can see here, surrounding of the nephron or the tubules are blood vessels, where you can see here are the peritubular capillaries, and also here you have vasa recta. Right, so what is the difference between peritubular capillaries and vasa recta? Peritubular capillaries surrounding the proximal tubule and distal tubule, whereby vasa recta surrounding the loop of Henle. Okay, right. And then the blood later on will be filtered out, right, from or via efferent arteriole and then drained out into renal vein. Okay, right. So the capillaries converge as they leave the glomerulus, forming efferent arteriole. So you can see from afferent, it branch off, right? The capillaries are branch off into a ball of capillaries that we call as glomerulus, and then the capillaries converge into efferent arteriole. So this is the flow of blood. I'm showing you the whole structure. Okay, efferent arteriole, right, and then branch and forming the peritubular capillaries surrounding distal and also proximal tubule, right? And you can see by following the arrows, these are all the vasa recta. All right, okay. So then from vasa recta, you can see it branch back into the renal vein. Okay, right. Okay, so each nephron supply with blood by afferent arteriole, that branch and form capillaries of glomerulus. Capillaries of glomerulus converge as they leave the glomerulus, forming efferent arteriole, then branch and form peritubular capillaries and vasa recta before drain out to the renal branch of renal vein. Okay, right. Okay, so you can see this is the summary of the blood circulation through kidneys, starting from renal artery, branch into afferent arteriole, and then branch off and form balls of capillaries that we call as glomerulus. Then the blood exit the glomerulus via efferent arterioles, where efferent arterioles branch and forming peritubular capillaries which surrounding proximal and distal tubule, and vasa recta that surrounding the loop of Henle to serve the renal medulla. Okay, and then branch off into small vein before drain out into the renal vein. Okay, right. Okay, that's it for the first video, right? So see you in the next video. Thank you.